The stakes around your relationship standards are higher than anyone is telling you. Here is why. You have been sitting across from someone, maybe last month, maybe last year. Someone attractive, successful, ticking every box you wrote down. And something felt off. You could not name it. You dated them anyway. 6 months later, you were devastated. Again. Here is the brutal truth nobody is saying out loud. The problem was never that your standards were too high. The problem is that you have been measuring the completely wrong things this entire time. Everyone told you to raise your standards. Get someone taller, richer, more ambitious, better looking. Nobody. Not your friends, not the dating coaches, not the Instagram reels. Nobody told you that chasing the wrong checklist is exactly how smart, good-hearted people end up alone or stuck in relationships that quietly destroy them. Today, that changes. By the end of this video, you will know precisely which standards actually predict lasting love, and which ones are leading you directly into your next heartbreak. Here is what the mainstream relationship advice got catastrophically wrong. In 2012, researchers at Northwestern University tracked 167 couples over 4 years. They measured everything: income, physical attractiveness, social status, shared hobbies. You know what predicted whether those couples were still happy together 4 years later? None of it. Not one of those surface-level metrics. Yet right now, millions of people are filtering potential partners on exactly those metrics. Height requirements, job titles, Instagram follower counts. The checklist culture took over dating and nobody questioned it. And the result? The US divorce rate sits around 45%. 60% of people report feeling chronically lonely even inside their relationships. People are not failing at relationships because they picked someone too imperfect. They are failing because they optimized for the wrong perfection entirely. The checklist gives you the feeling of having standards without actually protecting your heart. It is structure without wisdom, order without direction, and worst of all, it keeps you endlessly searching while the right person might be standing right in front of you, not matching a single item on your list. So what actually works? After studying thousands of couples, from John Gottman's 40-year research at the University of Washington to newer attachment science, 3 core principles emerge over and over again. Not 3 things you would expect, not the obvious stuff. 3 things almost nobody is screening for in the early stages of dating. I am calling this framework the 3 pillars of real standards, and once you see it, you will never look at a relationship the same way again. Pillar 1 is emotional safety. Pillar 2 is values alignment. Pillar 3 is repair capacity. Each one of these sounds simple. Each one is wildly misunderstood. And here is the cliffhanger before we go deeper. Most people are unknowingly selecting partners who fail all 3 pillars while convincing themselves they found someone great. Stay with me, because Pillar 3 alone might be the most important thing you hear about relationships this entire year. Pillar 1, emotional safety. And before you skip past this thinking, you know what it means. You probably do not. Emotional safety is not whether someone is nice to you. It is whether you can be fully honest with them without calculating the cost first. Here is a specific test. Think about the last person you dated seriously. Could you tell them when something they did hurt you? Without first running through 17 scenarios in your head about how they might react. If you spent even 30 seconds rehearsing that conversation before having it, you did not have emotional safety. You had emotional management. And emotional management is exhausting. It is what makes you feel lonely, even when you are with someone. Dr. Sue Johnson, founder of Emotionally Focused Therapy, spent decades proving that the #1 predictor of relationship collapse is not conflict. It is the absence of felt security between partners. The right standard is not, are they kind in public? The right standard is, do I feel safe being imperfect around them? That is a completely different question. Ask it on date 3, not date 30. Pillar 2, values alignment. And this is where people get it most wrong, most often. Values are not interests. This is critical. You both love hiking. You both want kids. You both hate the same kind of movies. That is interests. Interests change. Values do not. Values are the invisible architecture underneath every major decision you will ever make together. Things like, how do you handle money when things get hard? What does loyalty actually mean to you when it is tested, not when life is easy? How do you treat someone who cannot do anything for you? When do you put family first, and when do you put the relationship first? A couple in a 2019 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that value similarity, not personality similarity, was the single strongest predictor of relationship satisfaction at the 5-year mark. Not compatible personalities, compatible values. Here is a practical screen. In the first 3 months, pay attention to how they talk about people who wronged them years ago. Bitterness or growth? That tells you more about their values than any direct question ever will. Pillar 3. I told you this one might be the most important thing you hear about relationships this year. Repair capacity. Every single relationship, everyone, will have conflict, hurt feelings, misunderstandings, weeks where you both feel completely disconnected. The question is never whether those moments happen. The question is, what happens in the 24 hours after? John Gottman, who predicted divorce with 94% accuracy after watching couples for just 15 minutes, found that the happiest long-term couples were not the ones who fought least. They were the ones who recovered fastest. Repair capacity is the ability to say, I am sorry. I was wrong. Let us come back to each other, without ego getting in the way. Here is the brutal reality. You can find someone breathtakingly attractive, wildly successful, deeply kind in normal times. And if they cannot repair, you will spend years in a cold war that slowly grinds your love into dust. Screen for this early. Have a small disagreement deliberately. Watch what they do with it. Do they come back? Do they double down? Do they disappear? That response, now here is where it gets powerful. These 3 pillars are not separate checkboxes. They are a system. Emotional safety is what makes values alignment possible, because you cannot share your real values with someone you are afraid of disappointing. Values alignment is what makes repair possible, because when you share core values, the thing you are both trying to protect is the same thing. And repair capacity is what makes emotional safety sustainable, because trust is not built once, it is rebuilt over and over in small moments of coming back. Remove any one of these pillars and the entire structure collapses. That is why someone can have 2 out of 3 and the relationship still falls apart in year 3. That is why you look back on relationships that seemed so right on paper and cannot figure out where it went wrong. It went wrong at the foundation level, at the level of the real standards. And here is the truth that will set you free. These 3 things can be assessed early. You do not need a year. You do not need to move in together. You need eyes open, the right questions, and the courage to trust what you are actually seeing rather than what you wish you were seeing. Before we close, the 3 mistakes that will derail everything. Mistake 1, auditing your current relationship against these pillars and immediately catastrophizing. These are growth areas, not pass-fail exams. Ask whether these pillars exist in any form, not whether they are perfect. Mistake 2, using these standards to disqualify everyone instantly. Emotional safety, values alignment, and repair capacity develop. They need time to show up. Give yourself at least 90 days of real-world data before making a verdict. Mistake 3, and this is the one most people make, using this framework to analyze your partner instead of yourself. Are you emotionally safe to be around? Do you know your actual values, or are you running on autopilot? Can you repair without making the other person earn it for weeks? This framework is a mirror first and a window second. Now, around the 7-minute mark, I promised you tools, and here they are. 2 of the most genuinely useful resources for understanding yourself deeply enough to apply this framework are books built around attachment science and values-based compatibility. Attached by Amir Levine will show you exactly why you keep choosing partners who cannot meet you emotionally. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work by John Gottman will show you what repair actually looks like in real relationships. Both are linked in the description. They are not magic, but paired with what you learn today, they will give you language for things you have been feeling for years without being able to name. Here is where we close the loop I opened at the very beginning. You remember the person who ticked every box and still felt wrong. Now you know why. They may have had the checklist items, but they failed the pillars. Emotional safety, gone. Values alignment, surface only. Repair capacity, absent. Your standards were never too high. They were pointed at the wrong things. The loneliness you have felt, the confusion after relationships that should have worked. That was not a failure of you. That was a failure of the map you were using. You were navigating with the wrong instrument. Now you have a better one.